All right, guys, so today we're starting on notes 1-2. We're going to be doing some distributive property, but we're going to throw some negatives in there. It doesn't make it any harder. You're still just multiplying numbers and adding them together, but take it step by step. At the top, we have the actual distributive property. It says if you have some number A and you multiply it by two numbers added together inside parentheses, you're going to distribute over the parentheses and end up with something like this, like A times B for the first one, A times C for the second one. We're going to add them together. Same thing if there's a subtraction inside the parentheses. It's A times B minus A times C. So we're going to work on this today. Take it slow, look at these distributive properties, and it shouldn't be that bad. Let's look at number one. I want to look at the directions. It says simplify. It doesn't say solve or do anything like that. It just says to simplify. So we're going to do our distribution, combine anything we can, but we're going to end up with answers that still have variables. So let's look at number one. It's R times 3 plus 4t in parentheses. So let's do exactly what it said up on the distributive property. I'm going to take the term outside times the term on the inside in the first spot. R times 3 is just 3R. Now, I know a lot of you want to write R3 because it's R times 3, but we want to put the numbers in front of the variables. It makes our lives a little bit easier. Now we go on to the next one. I got a plus sign there. So it's R times positive 4t. So it's going to be plus, I have 4, and then I'm going to put my t in my R. Now, you can put RT, TR, it really doesn't matter the order, as long as you have them both there. Now, the only thing we have to check for simplifying is can we combine anything? I've got a 3R, and I've got plus a 4TR. Now, since those don't share exactly the same variables, I can't combine them together. That means this is my answer. Now, if it had been, for example, 3R plus 4R, we could have added those together because they both had R, but they have to have the exact same variables. Let's look at number two. I have 15 times A minus 4. So I'm going to distribute the 15 over the parentheses. First is 15 times A, which we should know is 15A. Now I have 15 times negative 4. That's going to give us minus 60. Now we check if we can combine any like terms. It looks like we can't, so we are finished with that one, and that's our answer. All right, let's go ahead and look at number 3. I'm going to scoot down a little bit here. Number 3 looks more complex, but it really doesn't add a whole lot to it. I have 5 minus 7 times 2n plus 1. So what I'm going to have to do this time is I'm going to have to pay attention to this subtraction in front of 7. Essentially what that means is we're going to be distributing negative 7 over these parentheses. But the 5 is all by itself, so it doesn't change in our first step. So I have 5. Now I'm going to do my multiplication. I have negative 7 times 2n is minus 14n. And negative 7 times positive 1 is minus 7. Now I do have some like terms I can combine. In the last two we didn't. So I have a 5 and I have a minus 7. So I need to combine those together. 5 minus 7 is negative 2. So those are used. And all I have left is minus 14n. Now you can write this two ways. This is our answer. You could write it negative 2 minus 14n or negative 14n minus 2. Either way is fine, whichever way you're more comfortable with. All right, sorry about that, guys. Thought I had paused it for a second. Let's look at number 4. That's 2n minus 5 times 6 minus 3n. So it's sort of like the last one. This 2n out here has nothing to do with the parentheses or the distribution. Let's go ahead and bring it down to the next step. Now, again, I have a negative number sitting out here that I need to distribute over my parentheses. So first, I have negative 5 times 6, which is minus 30. I have negative 5 times negative 3n. Well, a negative times a negative is going to be positive, so I have 5 times 3 is 15n. Now again, it looks like I have some terms I can combine. I've got a 2n and a plus 15n. Since their variables are exactly the same, I can combine them. I have 2n plus 15n is 17n. And the minus 30 can't be combined with anything, so it stays the same. 17n minus 30. So take your time, watch your multiplication. That's where you're going to miss a lot of these problems, is by mismultiplying something because you go through too quickly. Don't say that negative 5 times negative 3 is negative 15 or that it's positive 20. Be careful. Let's go ahead and look at number 4. And I know some of these are misnumbered, but that's okay. Now this one is kind of tricky. It's 11 minus 5x plus 4, but there's something that's going on here that you need to realize. When you have a negative followed by a parenthesis, there's really a 1 there, okay? And I'm going to write something up here. It's called, there's an understood 1. And what that's going to do is it's going to mean we're going to have to distribute negative 1 across our parentheses. The 11 is again outside, so we're going to leave that alone. But now I have negative 1 times 5x, which is negative 5x. Then I have negative 1 times positive 4 is negative 4. And essentially all it does is changes the sign on the stuff inside the parentheses. Now we need to look for any like terms we could combine. I've got an 11 here and a minus 4 here, but all I have with x's is negative 5x. So I have 11 minus 4 is going to be 7, and then I have minus 5x. And that's your answer. Now again, and we talked about this on another one, if you put negative 5x plus 7, that is also correct, okay? Just watch your signs if you're putting those in different orders. Now number 6, it's the biggest one we've seen today, but all it is 2 distributions and then combining like terms. So again, it's just multiplication. I'm going to start with the negative 5 times 3y minus 7. Negative 5 times 3y is negative 15y. Negative 5 times negative 7 is plus 35. So we finished this whole set of distributions. Now we go to the other one. But I have minus, in parentheses, 6 plus 4y. From the last problem, we know there's really a 1 right here that we have to distribute. Negative 1 times positive 6 gives me minus 6. Negative 1 times plus 4y gives me minus 4y. So we had 2 distributions, but it really wasn't any big deal. Remember, we just distributed over the parentheses. Now we need to combine like terms, and we have several things that can combine here. I have a negative 5 or negative 15y and a negative 4y. I can combine those together. Now be careful, they're both negative, so negative 15 minus 4 is negative 19y. But I also have 35 minus 6. 35 minus 6 is plus 29. So take this in pieces, guys. Nothing we did was really hard there. We just multiplied a couple of numbers or added a couple of numbers, but go slow and make sure you're doing those things correctly. Let's go to the back page where we're going to evaluate. All right, guys, so now we're on the back page, but the directions on the back page have changed. It still says that we're going to simplify. So we're going to do our distribution, our combining like terms, but then it says to evaluate. Let's look at the first question. Let me explain what that means. I have my normal distribution problem that we saw on the last page. 12 minus 3 times 5x minus 7 minus 4x. But then it says this for x equals negative 2. So when we simplify it down like we did on the first page, then we're going to plug in a number for the variable and actually have a number answer, okay? So let's just start with the distribution, okay? Let's not worry about evaluate at all. I'm going to leave the 12 outside. It has nothing to do with the distribution that I'm about to do. But then I have to recognize that I'm distributing negative 3 across the parentheses. So I have negative 3 times 5x, which is negative 15x. Then I have negative 3 times negative 7. It's a negative times a negative, so plus 21. Now I have minus 4x is outside those parentheses. It's sort of like the 12 at the beginning. It has nothing to do with the distribution, so I just write minus 4x. Now we did our distribution. We need to combine any like terms that we can. I have positive 12 plus 21. Well, 12 plus 21 is 33. So I'm done with those two. But then I have negative 15x minus 4x. Well, negative 15 minus 4 is negative 19, so minus 19x. Now, guys, we talked about this on the last page, too. You could have also written this as negative 19x plus 33. Either way you do it, it will work when we plug in x as negative 2. So we got our problem simplified. Now we have to throw our evaluate part in there. It says, I want to know what it's going to be when x is negative 2. So I'm going to plug in negative 2. And I'm going to write you a little note out here. It says plug in negative 2 for x. So it doesn't matter which equation you use, the one on the left or the right, it's going to work the same way. I'm going to have 33 minus 19, but in parentheses instead of x, I'm going to put my negative 2. Now you could write times negative 2, but it gets kind of confusing if you have long problems, so I suggest when you're multiplying you use parentheses. Plus, if you write it this way, this is exactly how you'd put it in your calculator. So 33 minus 19 times negative 2 got me 71. All right, so we simplified and we evaluated to add a little more to it, but not much, and frankly, it's calculator stuff. So guys, take your time, plug in the right variable. If it says negative 2, don't accidentally put in 2, okay? Let's go down and look at number 8. Almost finished. Same thing, we're going to simplify, then evaluate. This time we're going to be evaluating for x equals 3. So this one has a couple of distributions in it. I've got negative 3 times 7 minus x. So negative 3 times 7 is negative 21. Negative 3 times negative x is plus 3x. So we're finished with that piece. Now over here I have minus in parentheses 3 minus x, and remember that 1 is sitting in front there. Negative 1 times positive 3 is minus 3. Negative 1 times negative x is plus x. Now we have that minus 5x sitting at the end. It had nothing to do with distribution, so I'm just going to bring it down to the next level. So now I have what looks kind of like a nasty equation. We want to simplify that. Let's combine our like terms. Let's start with our x's this time. I have plus 3x plus x minus 5x. And that's 3 terms, guys. I'm going to kind of write this out to the side. That's 3x plus x minus 5x. Well, 3x plus x would be 4x minus 5x. 4 minus 5 is negative 1, so we get negative 1x, or just negative x. So I'm going to write that over here. There's more than one term that you're adding together through combining like terms. Just be careful, don't miss add and subtract. Now I've got my numbers, negative 21 minus 3, that's minus 24. So again, you could write that backwards, negative 24 minus x. Either way, it's going to be just fine. So we did our simplification. Now we have to do our evaluate. So I'm going to plug in 3 for my x. Now guys, that negative is there no matter what you put in. So it's like negative 1 times x. So I'm going to put negative times my x, which is 3, minus 24. Now that's actually negative 3 minus 24, and you don't need this step right here. I'm just showing you. Negative 3 minus 24 is negative 27. So watch your negatives, guys. Plug in that 3 in right here is a part that's going to get a lot of you. You don't lose negatives, okay? Let's do the last one, number 9. I've got 10 minus 2 times 3x minus 4x minus 3x minus 2. We're going to evaluate that for x equals negative 4. So this is no harder than the last problem, guys. The 10 has nothing to do with distribution, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it down. But I have negative 2 times 3 is minus 6. Negative 2 times negative 4x is plus 8x. You can see these are kind of getting repetitive. It's the same thing over and over. Then I have the minus 1 times 3x minus 2. Negative 1 times 3x is minus 3x. Negative 1 times negative 2 is plus 2. So we did our distribution. Let's combine like terms. I've got 10 minus 6 plus 2, it looks like. I'm going to write that over here just in case. 10 minus 6 plus 2. Well, 10 minus 6 is 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. So I used all my numbers. Now, you could have done your x's first if you wanted to. I'm going to do 8x minus 3x. Well, 8 minus 3 is 5, so plus 5x. So now we simplified. All we have to do is plug in our x equals negative 4. And guys, I'm going to rewrite it this way, 5x plus 6. Either way is correct. So let's plug that in here and be done. So I'm going to plug it into this one. I have 6 plus 5 in parentheses times negative 4. That's really 6 minus 20, which is equal to negative 14. So guys, distribution is not bad. Combining like terms is just adding or subtracting. So take your time, do your multiplication right, do your addition and subtraction right, and everything will be a lot better. If you have questions, let me know, and good luck.